Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Time Podcast. Yes, we are on Zoom again. My name is Derek DeBurger. To this side is Sam Roth.
How we doing, guys?
Yeah, all right. Let's get right into it. Uh, Georgia, Alabama. Close game? Not close game? What do you make of that?
I make of it as, mm, I mean, with 2 minutes left, there was a lead change, so close game, but like first half, not close. Tale of two halves game. It's the way I look at it.
Here's what I'm thinking. You know how I think we were pretty high on Washington like all of last year. I think at one point we even had Washington ranked number one. Um, a lot of people nationally thought Washington sucked, that they were super overrated because they were winning a lot of close games. They would get out to slow starts in games before they got going. Alabama did that the first 3 weeks of the year.
Mhm.
Okay, let's keep the focus. Let's keep your eyes on me.
Hey, I'm sorry, there's movement going around. I'm looking.
All right. Anyway, uh, no, I thought I was like, okay, Alabama, they're getting out to a slow start. I think Kalen Bohr is a great coach, but I think it's year one. I think they're going to struggle. Uh, no, I think he's just an amazing coach.
No, he's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, I think his teams sometimes don't look as sharp as they should,
Hmm.
and I don't know. I think it's just like just the process. I think
It
he's
is.
incredible
He
because
is
they got
undefeated now against Kirby Smart, um, Steve Sarkisian, and Dan Lanning.
and his he has one loss against top 10 opponents, and that was Michigan in the national championship last year.
Yep, he's
I'm
pretty damn good coach.
They were up 30-7. To me, this is a game that Alabama dominated where they just took their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
And then they let Georgia get back into it. Um,
It also is crazy that Alabama relied on literally a kid to win them the game, and Ryan Williams.
is it Ryan Williams? I thought it was Mike Williams.
It's Ryan.
Okay. I mean, that kid is
He is
really,
17 years old.
he's incredible.
He,
That
he is like probably like one of the few true freshmen right now that could just go straight pro.
yeah, more
He's
like
it's ridiculous.
yes. I mean, God, it's that I mean his touchdown to win the game was just
Oh my
in
gosh.
you know, I saw a clip of him. He's talking about how he was on a recruiting visit to Auburn during the Auburn Alabama game last year
Hmm.
and the 4th and 29 conversion. That's when he was like, "Oh, I'm going to Alabama." So he was close. He was close to being an Auburn guy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's so good.
He is
But
ridiculously good.
I I think that this game kind of showed the offensive struggles Georgia had
Yeah.
because Alabama was really, really bringing it to them. They were struggling to score, only 7 points in the first
Hmm.
half. And it's something that I thought they had this year because A, they just didn't look as explosive as they had the last 2 years. B, they don't have Brock Bowers or Lad McConkey.
No,
Brock
they
Bowers,
don't.
Lad McConkey was also like a safety blanket for Carson Beck. And it shows their offense is not what it used to be.
No, I think the biggest loser Saturday night wasn't Georgia. It was Carson Beck in his draft stock.
Yeah, I didn't get that. In
I do because like they're touting him as like I never thought of him as like a number one overall quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like I never saw that, but then people are like, yeah, as a guy who you thought could be like the number one pick in the draft, and I was like, he is far from it. He is giving me a little bit better than a Stetson Bennett, who was a fourth, fifth round pick. Like
He's better at it, yeah. But like,
he's
no,
not like a
I never
world beater.
I never looked at him and saw a first rounder.
I never did either.
Like, I mean, he would put up impressive numbers,
Yeah.
They won a ton of games. Um, but no, he himself never stood out to me. But speaking of winning a ton of games, that snaps the regular season winning streak at 42
Yeah, it
for Georgia.
does.
They were 2 wins away from tying the all-time record, which was held by Oklahoma. They were 3 games away from breaking the record,
Mm.
but no more. That's it.
No,
In
it's done. It's dusted. It's history now.
yeah.
Could we finally start seeing a shift in college football where Georgia is not the dominant powerhouse since last year they didn't win a national championship?
I think I thought this probably a couple weeks ago, and I didn't say anything. I've been keeping this to myself.
Mm.
Um, maybe I should have because then you sound smart when it turns
Yeah,
out.
yeah, you had your out in front of the gun.
Yeah, but now maybe I don't sound as smart. I think there's not a dominant team this year. I think I said something like that to that effect recently, but like not. I'm not like this direct about it. I don't think there's a dominant team this year. I think there are a lot of teams that are good, but I think their good is not like great.
Mm.
So I think potentially, not guaranteeing it because, it's crazy, but I think potentially we're due for another like 2007-esque year in
No.
which it's just a lot of chaos at the top. So, like, after Notre Dame lost to NIU, um, a lot of dumb people that want the BCS to return were like, oh, they're out of the playoff. It's like, well, no, they're not.
No.
But that's a really bad loss. So if they lose a second game, they might be out of the playoffs because you can't have 2 losses and one of them be a terrible loss to a MAC team that's currently sitting at like 2-2.
Yeah.
Um,
But we're moving on to Notre Dame now.
I'm just bringing this up because they so the I think the general consensus was the next game they lose, they're out of the playoff. I don't know now because this might be a year where 9-3 is good enough to get a certain team or two into the
Nine,
playoff.
9-3, an elite 9-3 with like some good 9 wins
Well,
can definitely make it there.
I'm saying 9-3 because I think there's going to be a lot of losses that pile up in the top 10.
Oh, I think a 9-3 team's going to make the playoff.
Yeah. And so um I think this is the year. I'm just not seeing anyone like maybe the most dominant looking team has been Tennessee. But even then they played a closer game than they maybe should have against Oklahoma. I mean, if you watch that game, they were far more dominant. They had
Mhm.
the they had like control of the game for pretty much the entire time, but they only won by 10.
Yeah.
So, and Oklahoma does not look good this year.
No, they do not.
So,
Struggled against Auburn, barely beat them.
yeah, they were down 11 at the fourth.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
But
I mean,
then,
let's do it. Let's move on to Notre Dame Louisville.
all right. Yeah.
Well, it's probably the second biggest game of the weekend.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. As far as rankings go, that, yeah.
Meaning raining. Oh, and according to ESPN's FPI, it was the most impactful game of the week as far as playoff
Playoff. Yeah. The
goes.
winners, the winners percentages went up to about 50% with the win.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
So, yeah.
huge game as far as like building a resume for the playoff.
Yeah.
Louisville came out and they came out pretty
Jeez.
flat. Notre Dame clearly had revenge on the mind.
I mean, Louisville started out beautifully first play of the game.
Well, yeah, because there was a fumble because it had.
Yeah.
So I went to that game. It literally started raining right before kickoff, and I mean right before kickoff. So that ball was like everyone was like training and warming up with a dry ball, and then all of a sudden the ball was wet,
Mhm.
and Notre Dame fumbles the opening kickoff.
Yeah. And I was
Uh,
like, whoo, what a start.
yeah, and Notre Dame just put it on Louisville. I mean,
Yeah, really. That's exactly what happened.
Louisville could have gotten some momentum going, but the thing is, they turned it over 3 times in the first quarter,
And they did.
which will screw you if you're attempting to win. Uh,
Also was one of the few teams heading into the game. Louisville, Indiana, and I believe Alabama. Oh, it was Georgia. And
Georgia.
Georgia were the three teams without turnovers heading into what are we in, week 5?
Yep.
So we'll see. But I mean, as far as like that game went, it just really gave like Louisville shot themselves in the foot.
Yep.
And Notre Dame was able to execute and complete drives and drive down the field in some aspects.
In the first half, yes.
Yes, it really did feel like like ours as in Louisville's defense didn't really have a way to stop Notre Dame in the first half. Riley Leonard running the ball was very effective, getting 5 to 6 yards of play, having an
So
extra blocker.
Louisville's top corner was out for the game.
Mhm.
Quincy Riley. Quincy Riley is a shutdown corner. But he was out. By the week prior against Georgia Tech, by the end of the game, he literally had both ankles taped up. And they were like, he'll try to go versus Notre Dame, and I was like, that guy's not playing.
Mm.
That guy is not playing. And so he didn't play. The pass defense took a huge hit, and also they didn't play to their strengths and Notre Dame's weaknesses in the first half. Louisville's first half defense has been dreadful all year long. But their second half defense has been incredible all year long. They're only giving up 12 in their games combined. They've only given up 12 points in the second half, not like in the fourth quarter or something, like the second half. They're playing great in the second half,
Mm.
not playing good in the first half. I came away from that game thinking Notre Dame and Louisville are just very equal talent wise because of Freeman. I don't think Marcus Freeman's good.
Right.
I mean, Louisville outgained him by 150.
Yeah.
Um, they just shot themselves in the foot.
But then also that I feel like outgaining them by 150 is not really a telltale of like the full story though, because for the first half, a good bit of it, Notre Dame started in Louisville territory. Like they started drives in Louisville territory where turnovers were happening, the muff punt. I mean, they only had to go like first and goal. So I mean, like it's not that they necessarily needed the yardage. They were already there because of their defense and special teams.
Yeah, but I don't know. I looked at that and I was like, I don't see too much separation between the two teams.
Mm.
I didn't. I mean, it could be the homer take. But, no, I thought that Notre Dame got that one, which
I feel like Louisville and Notre Dame right now to me sit in like the third tier of football. Like you have your elite teams that are vying for a national championship. Your top, I would say right now, it's probably about 7 to 8 teams I feel like out of shot.
it's a lot this year, I think.
Right. And then I think there's that second tier that probably covers that like 8 to 14 range. And I think Notre Dame and Louisville are just outside of it. Now I have Notre Dame well above that in my rankings because of the wins that they have. But
Yeah,
then
because the
again,
stretch.
I also feel like they're in like that third tier where I feel like if they go up against like a Penn State, it's not going to be close.
It depends. It depends on where it is. I think Notre Dame does have a good home field advantage,
They do.
especially if the scenario they were to play a Penn State at home. That's probably a playoff game. That's probably a crazy environment. And I think we're going to see it. We haven't seen it yet, but I think any of the teams that are hosting playoff games, they're just going to get a crazy.
It's going to be so hyped. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, I don't know. I talked to, Notre Dame won the game.
Yeah.
Walking out of the stadium, there were still so many Notre Dame fans that are like, God dang it, Riley Leonard sucks. What is the coaching staff doing? And I just talked to some random dude walking out of the stadium, and I was like, you want Steve Angeli to play? And he's like, yes, yes, I do. He's like, it's just politics. Who's getting paid more is who's playing. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. And he's
Oh,
like, ridiculous.
wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they hate Riley Leonard.
Really?
They hate him. I don't know. He's
Wow.
he's this guy, but yeah, no, he's not played amazing this year.
Yeah, he hasn't. All right.
Threw touchdowns passes in that game though.
All
Anyway,
right. What's the next game you want to go to?
but we got to talk about Ole Miss, Kentucky.
Okay.
I mean, that was
I mean, okay,
What was he doing?
Kentucky's defense is legit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That right there. Okay, I was like, okay, maybe Georgia just can't find a way to move the ball. Browers, McCockney, like they don't have a way to move the ball at all. I know I said it wrong. It's
Yep.
fine. But anyway, like I thought this Ole Miss offense at least was like one of the best in the nation. And the fact that they held them to 17 points in Mississippi,
Well, they scored 7 on the first try, like in the first 2 minutes. So they held them to 10 for the rest of the game.
which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, shout out to Kentucky getting a big, big win.
that is the first, I would say second big win of Mark Stoops' career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's huge. I mean, Kentucky,
It's a massive win.
they're like Iowa plus in the SEC right now. They have a little bit more of a competent offense, and their defense is awesome.
Iowa plus right now is Michigan, but that's nor here nor there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but like, no, I'm just like they have a great defense, and
Oh my
they're
gosh. I saw the missed kick and that was about what I was able to see of the game. But like, holy crap. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's the 12-team playoff that doesn't even in the 14 playoff that doesn't screw Ole Miss.
no, it
Because
doesn't. You can stumble, but you can't fall.
yeah. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. But
Another team that I felt stumbled even though they won was Miami.
yeah,
Like, okay, Virginia Tech is nowhere near on any of our radars for being anything this year. And the fact that and what's up with Miami struggling to win games at home? Like,
they have a terrible home field environment. I
I'm
mean, it was decent for that game, but historically it's awful.
I mean, like, yeah, I guess it's the corporate world of playing in Hard Rock Stadium, downtown Miami, away from school. You got busing students if you want to do anything like that. But it's just like Virginia Tech, like this isn't a Clemson, this isn't an SMU, this isn't a Louisville, this isn't a Boston College with Thomas Castellanos. Like this is not a team that's on any of our radars. And the fact that they were a fingertip, literally a fingertip that touched the ball out of bounds on the final play of the drive from losing the game, the final play of the game on a Hail Mary. Like that's the only reason why Virginia Tech lost the game is because the ball went up, people fumbled around with it, came down with it, but because when they came down with it and didn't have complete possession of it, a Miami player who was out of bounds touched the ball is the reason why it was ruled incomplete.
Which I don't know about you personally. I agree with that call.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I was like, I don't think he ever had possession.
No, he never did. I don't think he didn't have possession until he was on the ground, but he was inbounds on the ground. It was the fact that another Miami player was out of bounds, touched it before he had like secured
Like,
it.
there was so much like jostling around that,
Yeah.
like I don't know if,
It
but
was
no,
the right call. I was upset by it because I was like, holy crap, this could be a great upset.
you wanted the chaos.
Of
The chaos,
course.
chaos
But
is fun.
I mean, yeah, ACC released a statement explaining the call and everything because at the end of the game, the ref was just like, call on the field's overturned, incomplete, game's over. And it was just like, there was no explanation. And then the ACC gave an explanation later. But
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Normally
yeah,
AC refs suck, but that I don't have an issue with just being like incomplete and then walking off the field.
yeah,
Yeah, Miami was down 10 points at the start of the fourth quarter.
yeah.
Had to come back. And honestly, the reason that they came back was a crazy play when Cam Ward was about to get sacked.
And he just dumped it to his tight
And
end.
yeah, and the tight end ran like what was it, like 30 yards or
Yeah,
something?
something crazy.
Yeah. Um, I mean, Miami does this every year. They were this close. They were a fingertip away from doing what they do every single year, which is looking really, really good in the non-conference and then just falling apart in conference.
They're still keeping it together with a thread. One fingertip at a time, they're holding it on.
Yeah, they play at Virginia next, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Virginia. I don't know if it's at Virginia or at Miami. Virginia is not a well-coached team, but their quarterback is really, really impressive. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that he's the type of quarterback that should be playing at a better school.
Mm,
Anthony Calandria, his name. He's very impressive. There's always a chance you can upset a big school when you have someone like Calandria, but I don't know.
I mean,
I don't think we're gonna learn too much about Miami until they play at Louisville, personally.
mm,
All right. Let's just run through the other quick ones. Penn State, Illinois. Illinois looked really good for a quarter and a half, and then
mhm,
Penn State's defense just completely shut them down.
yeah,
Illinois' defense also played really well, but
yeah.
Penn State's defense was better.
I mean, I honestly think like Illinois is going to be interesting to watch this year. I'm excited for them. I feel like in this Big Ten, it's going to be fun this year.
I think Illinois is good. They're
Yeah.
legitimately good this year.
I think they're legitimately good, and I think holding Penn State to 21 is very impressive.
Mhm. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Wasn't even close.
No, and I truly believe Oklahoma State just can't pass the ball. I've been saying this for week in and week out.
You
Like
have.
Ollie Gordon can't get anything going because he has nowhere to run the ball. Because they're forcing them to try every defense that plays Oklahoma State should try and have this team beat them over the top because they can't.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I will say Oklahoma State's two losses are to two good teams.
Yes.
So on paper, it's not a terrible 3-2 that they're sitting at. But yeah, we'll see if they can fix things. Mike
Yeah.
Gundy is a good coach. He fixed, Ollie Gordon midseason last year. We'll see if he can do the same for the passing game.
Yeah.
All right. And then finally we got Arizona, Utah. Once again, Cam Rising did not play, and they lost.
Yeah. Um, seems to be a common trend with Utah. It's when they don't have their guy, they're out.
Yeah, I mean, like Utah really could have gone undefeated this year.
In
They
theory, yeah.
genuinely had a very good shot to go undefeated. Um, it's just all about the health of their quarterback. Like he hurt he's got like two fingers wrapped up on his throwing hand.
I don't know at this point with him. It
That's what he had
seems
against Oklahoma State.
it just it's giving like just I understand he still wants to play. He probably can't go to the next level.
No, but like he can be a really good college quarterback, and that's what he is.
He is, but
So yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks for Utah. I don't have a rooting interest for or against Utah, so it's one of those teams where I'm like, yeah, go Utah. I like Utah. Why not?
mm,
And so just to see them several years in a row now, just have their ceiling dropped just because their quarterback isn't healthy. It sucks for them because they could be so, so good with Cam Rising healthy. They just have to play baby Zach Wilson. And so,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It sucks for him. I feel for him.
So do you think so right now, Big 12,
Yeah.
BYU beats Kansas State beats Oklahoma State, Utah beats Oklahoma State, Arizona beats Utah.
Hmm.
Who do you have right now being that fourth seed in the playoff? Who's winning the conference championship and getting that automatic bid?
Okay. My answer is contingent on health.
Okay, Cam Rising is healthy.
Yeah. It's probably still Utah. I
Cam
still,
Rising isn't
I,
healthy.
oh my God. Then I don't think it's Utah. It might be, I could see it being Kansas State or Iowa State right now. I
Ooh,
think
Iowa State. I like that.
Iowa State's got a really, really good defense, and their offense is not that good.
I think it's
Um,
Kansas State.
it could be Kansas State. I don't know. I think they have too many hiccups in them, you know. But I will see.
The Big
Uh,
12 was very much giving. like middle tier teams. There's not really an elite team that has a shot this year, but it does have like very good competitive, like those middle tier
I
teams.
think Utah's elite when Cam Rising is healthy, but if he's not healthy, yeah, it just completely kneecaps him. But since we're talking about Matt Campbell, we'll just do this quickie bit of news because there's actually a lot of news today.
Yep.
That being that Matt Campbell is now the winningest head coach in Iowa State football history. If you had to guess, if you had to guess, not guessed, how many wins do you think he has as a head coach?
At Iowa State, I don't even know how long he's been there.
He's been there for a while,
Really?
honestly. Yeah, not. I
Um,
don't think he's been as long. Stoops is the longest tenured coach, I believe, in college football. So he hasn't been there as long as Stoops has been at Kentucky.
oh, okay. So let's say 8 to 9 wins. He's been there for 6 years. We're going around 50 wins.
57.
Well, not too bad. I'll take it.
However, he has been there longer than you think.
Ah,
Uh, let me. Oh, my internet's going slow all of a sudden. Um, let me look up how long he has been there. He has been there since 2016.
oh, okay. So 8 years.
8 years and he's got 57 wins.
So
That's
that's like 7 wins a season. That's 7 wins a season.
an average. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's had a lot of years where they have 7 wins, and then he had
Mhm.
that year in COVID where they popped and they finished like top top 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, that's just so crazy to me that their winningest coach in school history has 57 wins.
Yeah. That is
That's
that's very low.
it's very very low.
Are they gonna build a statue for him for Matt Campbell now?
I don't know. I mean, do you build a statue if your bar is raised from god awful to like
Mediocre.
yeah, I don't think you do.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what they're doing at Ames, but
Mm,
all right. Let's move on to the other news. We are, we're late on this because
okay.
it happened like a week ago after we finished recording. But
Just about.
yeah, UNLV's starting quarterback Matthew Spluka left the team. He started their first 3 games for him. They went 3-0, and he left the team because he wasn't paid $100,000 he was owed in NIL.
Well, from reading about this story, it seems to be a classic case of he says, she says. Apparently, it was a verbal agreement from an offensive assistant of some sort within the team that offered him $100,000. Nothing was signed, nothing was said. Um, Reports came out that Solka went and got an agent after beating, I believe it was Kansas, and who was the other big win?
Houston.
Yeah, they beat Houston and Kansas. He went out and got an agent, and then the agent was like, said that he was owed $100,000, that he would continue playing for $100,000. Um, that source who said that has a direct link to the offensive coordinator at UNLV that was said. And then on top of that, Solko's obviously going to redshirt and all this stuff because of it. So it's a and then Solka came out and said from that quote saying, I don't know where you got your information, but that's absolutely 100% incorrect. So it's like it's a case of like the offensive coordinator is saying one thing through his media guy. Solka and his agent are saying another thing. Plus, Solka's family is even chiming in on it and saying the information is untrue, which is just very poor by the agent overall. And then also to make this even worse is that, well, not even worse, but the linebacker on the coach when asked about how he feels about Haji Malik Williams taking over for Solka in their fourth game to play. He said it's about damn time. He's better than him anyway. And then same thing with the wide receiver saying that Haji Malik was like talking about Haji Malik, like, yeah, it's about time he got the start instead of Solka. And then there was a donor as well for UNLV who said, I have the 100 million, not 100 million, $100,000 to pay Solka. And they asked for comment on that. And another teammate said, give it to the O line instead. So it seems like a lot of his teammates don't like him, is what's coming out from this report. Or they're just standing with the coach and the team because this guy wants to bow out. It doesn't seem
I
that great.
I don't know. I think it's a complex situation. I mean, I tend to side with Sluka. Um, even though, yeah, Haj Malik Williams played way better than Sluka has the entire
He
year.
seems to be, they seem to get two very good FCS quarterbacks, and they just had like one behind the other. And so,
Yeah, maybe it might have been the wrong guy behind the other, but I don't know. The team's rallied around him. The team is rallied around Barry Odom, and they destroyed Fresno State.
yeah, they did.
Yeah. Williams was 13 for 16 in that game for three passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that's as many passing touchdowns as Sluka had in the first three games combined.
Also cracked the top 25 for the first time ever.
Yes, which is wild. It's wild.
It's the
But I look,
first time ever UNLV's been in the top 25. I wouldn't think that.
yeah. Oh, there's like nine teams.
Really?
Probably more now because there's been a lot of FCS moving up. But yeah, there's a lot of there's actually a fair amount of teams that have never been in the AP top 25. Um, but yeah, good for UNLV. I don't know. It kind of it sucks for Sluka a little bit because like maybe his the market for him has kind of.
I'm not gonna lie. I think with this move, I think he might be done or go to a lower program because it's like, what guy wants to touch this guy now? I think it was his final year of eligibility, or maybe he has another year because of a COVID year, because that's how old he is.
This was his COVID year. He's redshirting now, so
So he
having.
still has, but it's one of those where it's like he chased the 100,000. He's not going to get it.
I
I
don't
don't know
blame him.
where he's going to get it.
I don't blame him though. I
I
don't blame him
understand.
at all. If you're told like, hey, we're gonna get you $100,000, and they just don't, then leave.
But then there's also conflicting reports though, because he's saying he's owed 100,000 because that's what's verbally agreed upon. Other people are saying no, and then also the fact that his teammates seem to not like him is quite interesting.
I don't know. That doesn't mean anything to me
I
personally.
know it doesn't mean anything as far as like where the money goes and if he was lied to or not to get him to commit to UNLV, but it's a case of she said, he said, she said, like, who are you gonna believe?
I don't know. I'll side with the player on this one, but
Okay.
all right, we'll move on to another player that oh me oh my, give this man the Heisman already. Ashton Jeanty. Jesus Christ.
What did he do?
I, I mean, what can he do? You know, he had again against Washington State, whose defense is not that good this year, but I do think is a good team. He ran for 259 yards and four touchdowns against them.
That
That
is a
brings his
lot.
total, that brings his total on the year to 845 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Man.
Absurd.
Yeah.
How many yards do you think Barry Sanders had through his first four games in his Heisman year?
I'm gonna go with the not 845.
You would be correct. He had 813.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's what Ashton Genty's doing right now. And the thing is, they barely played him against Portland State.
Yeah, they did.
Could
He
have,
only had like 10 carries for 100 yards or something like that, which is still absurd.
yeah, they could have just run him into the ground against Portland State because Portland State wouldn't have been able to stop him. But they literally saved him for later in the year. And oh my God, he's still putting up crazy numbers. You can't stop this guy.
What year is he?
He is a junior. He's a true junior.
So don't want to get ahead of myself, but where do you see this guy going next year? Because he's obviously going to get a bag somewhere. That I
He,
feel like the bag is not going to be able to be offered at Boise State.
I don't. He might go to pro.
Oh, that is a big bag.
Yeah, he might go pro because
That makes sense.
with running backs, clocks tend to tick,
They do.
and so yeah, I mean, he might go pro after this year. I
Yeah,
would
it makes sense. Yeah.
him not go pro, and gosh darn it, he better win the Heisman. I think it seems already people really want to give Cam Ward the Heisman.
They do. They
Uh,
really do.
and this guy being from Boise State, there's a lot of people that don't want to give him the Heisman. He deserves it, man. He's
Well, it
so
is interesting. Right now, it seems to be Cam Ward. It was Jackson Dart up until the Kentucky game, who was second. And I want to say Carson Beck because both Texas quarterbacks are like fighting for a starting position right now.
yeah, yeah. I I mean,
Maybe Nico, we'll see.
the thing is, it's like what do all those schools have in common? Big name, big name, big name, big name. They're just trying to give it to a big name quarterback. Give it to Ashton Jeanty. He's the one that deserves. I know he's got 8 games left to play, but God dang it. If he ended the year with 845 yards and 13 touchdowns, that's
So
a
he's played what, 4 games so far?
games. He's on a
So
monster pace.
845 divided by 4.
You could just do 845 times 3.
That is how many yards he's going to average.
That's his pace right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, sounds about right.
He's on track for 39 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And the thing is, um, their schedule's not that tough.
No, he's not.
Mountain West is not what it was last year.
Okay. I do think this is for him to win the Heisman, it's going to be contingent on Boise being the at-large bid, basically. The group of 5 school.
Yeah, because if Boise State is not in playoff contention, they're just gonna
There's no way. Because I mean, like, if he can get into the postseason and be on a spotlight and they go to that 5 seat school in that 12 spot, it's gonna be fun to watch.
Mhm. But yeah, I mean that's where we are with him. Give him the Heisman. Jesus Christ. We'll talk about 2 firings, or you know what, 1 firing and 1 resigning.
Okay.
Uh, we'll talk about Purdue. Purdue fired their offensive coordinator Graham Harrell after just 4 games. Purdue scored 49 points in their season opener against FCS opponent Indiana State. And then they've scored 38 combined points against their other 3 FBS opponents.
They played Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, uh, Oregon State, and then Nebraska.
Those are 3 games I don't have Purdue winning, but nevertheless,
Oregon State, though, they're not expected to be that good.
yeah.
And so I don't know.
Is
Yeah,
this his first year at Purdue?
second, I believe.
Oh, okay. So I was about to say that's a quick trigger if it's just 4 games and he's done.
I mean, I will say though, their coach, Ryan Walters,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, this comes across as Ryan Walters already trying to do the thing that coaches do when they're on the hot seat and fire an assistant to be like, actually, no, no, no. They were the problem. Give me a
Mm-hmm.
because I'll be good. I'm good without them shackling me. Um, and yeah, 4 games into his second year, that's not a good sign for Ryan Walters. And the thing is, Ryan Walters has been bad. He's been really bad. Um, I mean, I can't remember who the coach was before Jeff Brom, but Jeff Brom was so the coach before Brom at Purdue was awful. He won 3 Big 10 games in 3 years. Brom gets there, and I mean, when you look at his overall, he's like just a little bit over 500. But when you consider what was before him, it was like, oh my God, Brom did an incredible job there. And then now Brom leaves, coming off of, a Big Ten championship game appearance, and Ryan Walters is terrible. He
Yeah.
couldn't keep them. I don't know. To me, this just shows that Ryan Walters' seat is pretty hot.
Yeah.
It's Purdue, so I don't know if they'll fire him this year
Mhm.
if this level of play continues. But ooh, it's not good. It's not good for him. Um, I have to blow my nose,
Okay.
so I'm gonna go do that.
But the other thing that I find interesting, you can go. I'm just going to talk.
Got it.
What I find interesting is that this is one of the schools. So Purdue obviously is struggling, but one school that Derek has said that is on fire, and I have to agree with him, is Kirk Cincinnati of Indiana. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize this, but he was the wide receivers coach for the original Nick Saban crew that had Lane Kiffin and Kirby Smart and Nick Saban at Alabama back in when Saban first got the job at Alabama. And my goodness, he is tremendous, fantastic coach. I'm excited to see what they can do. And now whether or not they can hold on to us, Kirk Cincinnati, is going to be interesting to see because Indiana is on fire right now. And they got lightning in a bottle. People are excited to be at the games. It's something I haven't seen in Indiana football in forever.
I agree with everything you said.
Because I was just talking about how Kirk Cincinnati, I didn't realize this watching game day. He was part of the original Saban crew that went into Alabama. He was a wide receivers coach for Saban with Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, all these. He comes from that tree. And my goodness, is that a fantastic tree to be a part of?
And ironically, so Kurt Signetti is probably putting more pressure on Ryan Walters right now at Purdue. Uh, Jeff Brom, Nick Saban desperately tried to get Jeff Brom as his offensive coordinator in that original Alabama crew as well.
Mm,
It's interesting. But yeah, no, Kurt Signetti is incredible. It's putting a lot of pressure on Ryan Walters.
I mean,
Don't know what his future
it
looks like.
does make me wonder. Kirk Cincinnati, I'm going to say this, could be the next Saban.
He's really good.
Now, the question is whether or not he does it at Indiana, because you got to remember, Saban got his big start at Michigan State, went to LSU, and then Bama, won a national championship at LSU, and still left for Bama.
Saban was also, fun fact, at Toledo before he was at Michigan State.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, as far as like Power Five goes, because
Yeah.
Cincinnati's been good. And James Madison, he's been good everywhere he's gone. I think Elon he was at before.
I don't know.
Um,
I know he was at James Madison when they were in the FCS. He won a
right.
national championship at the FCS.
I mean, he's won at every level. Saban won at every level. It's just a matter of like if you're Indiana's AD, you gotta try and keep this guy. Like he is phenomenal.
And they have Big Ten money. So,
You do. And
they
it's
can.
like this Indiana, can you really be can Indiana become a football school? So I guess I'm trying to say, can it overdo the basketball that is there and rich in Indiana? Or does he have to go to a football school to get the football money, to get the football support, to
I mean, Indiana has a rich, rich donor base.
they have Mark Cuban, that's all they need.
That's all they need, but they also have way more than just Mark
Right?
Cuban.
Yeah.
And so there's an old saying uh, that basketball schools are just football schools that haven't been good at football yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have Kurt Signetti, who is one of the rising stars in coaching, and he gets you to that like consistent playoff contender status, kind of like year in and year out, and also he's willing to stay for the long haul, yeah, that could turn Indiana into a football school. I mean, ultimately, I think it's always going to be a basketball school in the sense that it's a basketball state. Like Indiana's crazy about basketball. Um, but no, he could transform that program. All it takes is one coach to stay there for a long time. But moving on to the other uh coaching changeup, because this is not a firing, this is indeed a resigning. That would be Jake Costner, Central Michigan's quarterback coach. Why does that matter? You might ask. Well, it's because he was reported as the guy that invited Connor Stallions to the game that he was photographed at.
Oh,
Connor Stallions, the Michigan staffer.
but he admitted that he wasn't at the game. I watched the documentary. He said he wasn't at the game.
Yeah, but Dave Portnoy said he was.
No.
That uh, I did you okay, so you watched Science Stealer?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was decent.
Okay, let's talk about it. I watched it too. I thought it was not that good. Uh I thought that it was very clearly painted from a pro Michigan standpoint.
Hmm.
I didn't look up the director. I have to imagine they're a Michigan fan. Uh the only like detractor that they ever had like speak against Connor Stallions was some crazy Ohio State fan. And so
Yeah,
they were trying to paint it as like, look, the only people that are anti Connor Stallions are just these insane Buckeyes.
on these
Eh,
message boards who want to do interviews in a mask.
Exactly. They were trying to paint Connor Stallions as like, guys, he's a really good guy.
It's
He,
just he just asked for the signs from other people and created a database and studied.
yeah, guys, he was a Marine. He's a really smart guy.
He just set his mind to it. He could do anything he wants.
Yeah. And then they're like, look at this insane idiot who lives with his mother, who's an Iowa State fan, who's trying to ruin Connor's life. Uh, no, I thought the documentary was not that well done. I don't think it really dove deep into like, I don't think it really like explored it all that much. It kind of just took a lot of what Connor Stallions said at face value. Um, Also, Connor Stallions clearly was advised legally to not say certain words and like not talk about certain things because he never once said sign stealing. He said sign deciphering. And he had to stop himself every single time he said it. You could tell he'd been coached by a lawyer to do that.
Mm.
Uh I don't know. The documentary is pretty disappointing. It was not that good, I thought. Um, but I mean, I don't know. That's kind of all I have to say about that. It didn't offer anything new.
Okay.
But what did you think?
I thought it was all right. I thought it gave me an idea of trying to understand science because I always wanted to know like why they held up like the TP things, like the little PVC pipe with like the straps or whatever. And I thought, oh, that's just so that way, one, the guys could clearly see the signs that are being given on the field. And two, I thought it was like maybe to hide the booth. No, the whole purpose of that is to prevent the TV from seeing the signs so that people could steal them.
Hmm. Yeah, but
I thought there were some interesting things like that that I picked up on, but
stuff that I learned, like nerd stuff that was interesting.
yeah, like the inner workings of the game, a game
Yeah,
within a game, as they say in baseball.
yes. But other than that, it was not all that interesting.
Hmm.
But let's move on to what is our final bit of news for the day. Um, Actually, you know what? Before we get onto that, let's talk about Army and Navy
Okay.
because Army and Navy are 4-0, both of them.
They are
Both of them putting up a lot of points too.
a ton of points.
Yeah, Army and Navy, they are 4-0 for the first time since 1945. Back in 1945, those two were like powerhouses in college football.
Mhm.
Yeah. Navy has scored 38 or more points in a 4 game stretch for the first time in school history.
Yeah,
That's 144 years.
yeah. They first came onto my radar when I was like, oh, this Memphis team should be pretty good. They're playing Navy. Memphis should win. They could possibly be ranked in week 3. They could be the group of 5 team, and then Navy puts up 56 points on them. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And you know what's interesting about Navy is, all the military service schools, they run the triple option because they just kind of don't have the players. They can't recruit the same way. So they have to run the triple option. It's kind of like a gimmick offense.
Hmm.
Well, Navy actually is not running the like triple option officially this year. They're running the wing bone.
The wing bone.
I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong.
What is the
Uh,
wing bone?
it's a variation of the triple option, but it's a different offense.
Hmm.
So Navy's switching it up. their offense has been very good in this new scheme. I don't know if it's just people don't have enough film on it yet, or if it's actually like, oh no, all the military schools should be doing this because they're putting up a ton of points. And they're doing it against, Memphis, who a lot of people thought was going to go to the playoffs. They still could, but a lot of people had them penciled in as like, that's the team to watch. They're the ones. Um, I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm pro. It's fun. It's fun when the military schools do well.
This is exciting.
Interestingly enough, Air Force has not been that good this year.
Really?
Yeah, no, they're like 1-3 or something like that. Which usually their coaches, they have a good coach. They're the one that's usually the most consistent, at least as of late,
Huh.
because Navy fired their one coach that was really good. So
We'll
who knows?
see.
Who knows? All right. Now that we've said that, let's get into the realignment news
Realignment.
because it's actual news.
It is.
The Mountain West has offered Texas State of the Sun Belt to join the Mountain West. They've offered him a bid. The Bobcats have not accepted it yet, although several reports say that they are expected to accept it, which, if that were the case, that would put the Mountain West head back to 8 teams with the exit of Utah State to the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
And that would put the Sun Belt at 13 teams, which is a weird number.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't, but, makes you think. And then also, there are reports that the Mountain West is now also going after NIU and Toledo.
Yep. Which would also put them in officially a different time zone.
Yes.
So also another thing to note, Toledo and NIU, for I believe it's the MAC. Is that where they play?
Yes.
Yeah. They've won 7 of the last 13 championships in the MAC. There are also 2 schools in the MAC that are football only schools. So they would be football only for the Mountain West as well.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so if the Mountain West were able to get Toledo and NIU, then that would put them with the expected addition
Of
of
Texas State.
that would put them at 10, which would give them a conference championship
It
game.
would.
And so that would keep their potential, playoff bid alive every year because you got to play a championship game to be one of the qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, you look out for that.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think the odds are that NIU and Toledo accept a bid to the Mountain West? Because it is a better conference than
It
the
is a
MAC.
better conference.
MAC kind of sucks.
I mean, if it is true that they do get offered, I think if there's more money, it's definitely it unlocks 2 new markets for the Mountain West in Indiana, I mean Illinois and Ohio. I
Two
mean,
big
it's
state.
it if it does allow if they don't mind the travel going all the way out there. I mean, with if it's just football, I think you got to do it. Because I mean, like other than Toledo and NIU, historically speaking, in the MAC, who is there? Central Michigan? Like, who are we talking about here?
Central Michigan, no, they're not that good. Ohio's got a good coach. They've been a solid program of late. Miami of Ohio was really good last year. They sucked this year. Uh, I mean, there's not a lot of like powers in the
I
in the
mean, like Eastern Michigan, Buffalo, Central Michigan, Ohio, Bowling Green, Miami of Ohio, Western Michigan, Ball State, Akron, and Kent State.
Yeah, no, there's not
I
like a
I
traditional.
think if you're Northern Illinois and Toledo, I think you take this and you run with it. Would you
Maybe
rather be playing Boise State? Well, no, Boise State's leaving. So what am I talking about?
rather be playing UNLV and Texas State or Kent State and Ball State.
Right. I mean, as long as you're okay with the travel, that's really what it comes down to.
it is football only, that's a lot more manageable. Even though it's logistically there's more people, but the money is there.
Yeah.
So the travel, it's not as big a concern. This what does pique my interest in this is um the Sun Belt now being at 13 teams. They could stay at 13 teams, no problem. But the mindset right now is expansionist in college football. So that kind of begs the question, okay, what does the Sun Belt do? Um, I don't know. If I'm the Sun Belt, I'm looking at two teams. One of them is actually a former member that left the Sun Belt for Conference USA when it was a better conference than the Sun Belt, but now the Sun Belt is a better conference than Conference USA. The other is also a member of Conference USA, but has never been in the Sun Belt. Those
Can I
two
take a
teams would,
guess?
yes, go ahead.
I'm going to go with WKU.
That's the one that used to be in the Sun Belt.
And if we're going off of best team right now, it's Liberty.
That's the other team.
Ha.
Because so Western Kentucky is it's kind of exactly what the Sun Belt wants. It's they're a football school.
College town.
Yeah, I mean I don't think that matters as much, but
Fair enough.
yeah. Uh, so they're a football school that also has good baseball. That's what the Sun Belt wants. But on top of that, Western can offer historically good basketball.
Yep.
Recently, but historical, yes. Um, so I think that's a good get if the Sun Belt can get him. And also, I don't think WKU wants to be in Conference USA.
No,
It's a bad
it's
conference.
pretty abysmal.
Also, Liberty. If we're looking at Liberty, they just have so much money. I mean, all those rich evangelicals. Who
Mhm.
God wanted them to be rich, and that's why they're rich. Um, they have so much money, so Liberty could offer so much to the Sun Belt. Also, it just fits. Both of those teams fit geographically. So it'll be interesting to see if the Sun Belt does want to add anyone, and then if they do, who it is. I think it's going to be one of those two teams, personally, if they go after someone. But then that, of course, brings into question, like, okay, what is the Pac-12 going to do? What is the Conference USA going to do? What is the MAC going to do? They're probably all three going to have to, if the scenario I'm saying plays out, that either WKU or Liberty go to the Sun Belt, all three of those conferences are probably going to have to dip into the FCS again. And so, I mean, it's the untold story of realignment is just the rating of the FCS.
Mm.
But yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's what you have to do if you're getting poached and there's nowhere lower to go until you have to go below division.
yeah. You got anything else to say about that?
No, not really. I mean, it'll be exciting to see what happens and how this all shapes up, but
Again, we've said it several times. The only reason we're talking about this alignment as opposed to other realignment stuff is because the everything else was rumors that
yeah,
people were just making up. This is actual substantive stuff. Uh, so it's fun for us. It's fun when it's actual news.
yeah. Rather than being like, it could happen.
Yep. My sources are telling me that,
Clemson and Florida State are going to the SEC.
yeah, which
You know,
fun fact before we move on to the pickums. SMU was one of the points that Florida State used in their lawsuit
and they
against.
beat the crap out of them.
They said that SMU is such a lower tier of football that it's embarrassing for Florida State. And then yeah, SMU destroyed Florida State. Pretty embarrassing, if
Yeah.
you ask. All right, moving on to the pickums. This is not the best week, in all honesty. This is not the best week of football.
It's not a great week, but we'll make do.
But football is football.
It is.
Uh, all right. So starting off, another Friday game. We have Syracuse versus UNLV.
Mm.
I'm
Two
going with
teams that were in our rankings at one point
it,
this season.
yeah, Syracuse not anymore. UNLV still is, just barely.
Yep.
Uh, I'm gonna go with UNLV.
I am too. Is it at UNLV?
Sure is.
Oh, yeah. Give me the Rebels.
Cross country, going from Syracuse, New York to Las Vegas. All right. Screw it. That'll be our game of the week because there's not a lot of good games. Next up, we have Missouri versus Texas A&M. Um, I don't know. Missouri. It's at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, both don't think Missouri is like an elite team this year, but they're better than Texas A&M.
Yeah, like you were saying, the tiers of football this season, they're probably in that second or third tier,
That's what I'm
Missouri.
saying. I think they're that good.
Yeah. Texas A&M, I think,
I
they're in the top 25 right now, the AP top 25. I think they're in there for no reason.
I
Uh,
think this game will be closer though than we think in
I mean,
some
both
aspects
are like,
because it's at the 12th man.
yeah, and both teams are teams that kind of pride themselves on their defense, but I don't. I think A&M is in the top 25 simply because they're in the SEC. I don't think there's.
Mhm.
I'm going Missouri in this one.
All right.
All right. Next up, we have Boston College versus Virginia. Not at all a sexy matchup on paper, but there's two combined losses between these two teams. It's at Virginia. I think I'm going to lean towards Boston College just because I think they have a significantly better coaching advantage. But these two quarterbacks are both very fun, and these defenses are not great.
Is he is Thomas Castellanos healthy? Because they were down big and struggled against WKU. They barely beat WKU by 1 point, 21-20. And so like I think this is kind of contingent on if he's healthy or not, because Boston College does not look like the same team without him on the field. They're giving very much a Utah Cam Rising situation.
So inform me because I might be ignorant on this subject. Was Thomas Castellanos, was he hurt
He was out for the WKU game. He did not participate.
the
And they
whole game?
won by 1 point against Western Kentucky.
Was he knocked out of game or was he out
He
the
was
entire?
ruled out.
Okay. All right. Well then,
Let me look and see if he's
I'm looking it up right now. I'm not
injury.
indication whether he's going to play against Virginia or not.
Yeah, I think it's too early in the week, but yeah, he was ruled out and their backup Grayson James started against WKU.
Well,
And it did not look good.
yeah, yeah, it didn't look good. Uh,
So, um, he's healthy. I don't think it's close. He's not healthy. I'm gonna go with Virginia
is that going to be your final pick, Virginia?
if he's not healthy. But like, I'm gonna say Boston College, I suppose, because if he is healthy, I don't think it's close.
All right, then I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to say Virginia, just because. If he's not
Right.
healthy, I think Virginia wins. It's at
Oh yeah,
Virginia.
I that's what I think.
All right, next we have Iowa versus Ohio State. Um,
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's still humming. They haven't really been tested yet, but they're humming.
yeah, yeah,
Ohio State.
yeah. I'm taking Ohio State too. I think I don't know. It's just I don't think it's going to be that close. Ole Miss versus South Carolina. Ooh,
I feel sorry for South Carolina.
yeah. I mean South Carolina. Yeah, I don't know. Nah, I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
Hmm.
I'll go with Ole Miss. It's a
Yeah,
rematch.
I'm going with Ole Miss here too. I mean, Ole Miss is now at the point where they don't really have too many people on their schedule, really. They still have some ranked opponents coming up, but let me look see who they have. Like they've I mean, they got LSU after this one, Oklahoma, and then Georgia towards the end of the year. But they really can't slip up too much anymore. So I mean, like I expect Ole Miss to come out and dominate.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Nebraska at Rutgers.
This could be a really good game.
Yeah, Nebraska's very similar style of play wise to Illinois, and Illinois caused Nebraska some fits. Dylan Raiola specifically. I'm gonna go with Nebraska though. I just think I don't know. I think Matt Rule's a good coach. I think that I don't think that they're gonna have the same issues with Illinois that they had against Illinois with Rutgers because I think they're gonna do some better job scheming around Rutgers'
Yeah.
strengths.
Um, this one's pretty close for me. I'm gonna go Rutgers. Why not?
Yeah, why not? All right. Next up, we next we have West Virginia versus Oklahoma State. Who are you picking in this one?
Man, beats me. This is tough. But
Picking.
realistically speaking, Oklahoma State can't throw the ball. I've said it 17 million times already. Um, West Virginia, I don't really know too much about. They played all right against like Penn State and stuff. They didn't look awful in the first week of the season. I honestly haven't kept up with West Virginia to be honest.
2-2 right now.
2-2, and they've beaten Albany. They lost to Pitt, but they beat Kansas.
This is like 1-4.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Oklahoma State. I still think they've got to figure it out though on offensively.
I'm gonna go with West Virginia. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the momentum might be a little too much right now in the wrong direction for Oklahoma State. So I'm going with West Virginia. Also, I knew you wouldn't pick them, which is just it's so funny to me. Next up, we have James Madison versus UL Monroe. Louisiana
Ooh.
has been way better than anyone thought they would be this year. They are already 3-1, which they were one of the teams that people thought could genuinely not win a single game this year. And James Madison, what are they 5-0 right now? 4-0? I think they're 4-0.
James Madison has beat Ball State, UNC, Gardner Webb, and Charlotte. They're 4-0.
They didn't look great their first 2 weeks, but ever since North Carolina, they are playing much, much better.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, like their offense has, I mean, given up 50 points to UNC is not exactly great, but 10 touchdowns is phenomenal.
yeah, it's,
Give me James Madison here. I don't think it's gonna be that close.
I'm I'm gonna take Monroe. Why
Okay.
not? You know, why not?
Why not?
Yeah. Next up, we have Miami versus Cal. Again, not that great a matchup, but you know, it's not a great week.
But then
Uh,
also, like, if Cal does anything close to what they did, I mean, not Cal, Miami does anything close to what they did to Virginia Tech and play around, it's not going to be close. I mean, I just, is Cal good or are they bad? Like, they
they're
played Florida State close, but then but they also lose to Auburn. Like,
no,
what are they?
they beat Auburn.
Yeah, I know they beat Auburn, but they lose to a bad Florida State team that
Yeah,
everyone down there is calling for DJ's head and saying he should never play another snap for them.
yeah. I mean, so Cal lost to Florida State by like I think 5 points.
Yeah.
Uh, eh, Everyone who watched that game says Cal was the better team. That Cal should have won that game. That they should be 4-0 right now. But that doesn't change the fact that they lost. Better teams lose all the time, and they lose typically because they play poorly. They play sloppily.
Mm-hmm.
They played pretty poorly in that game. Um, Miami, mm, I would be leaning a little bit more towards Cal in this one. If Miami didn't just come off a really bad performance. Uh, I don't know. I think again, Cristobal is one of those coaches that kind of he takes breaks.
Mm.
And I think this week is not a week that he's going to take a break because they almost lost last week. So I'm going to take Miami.
Yeah, give me Miami.
All right. Next up, we have Texas Tech versus Arizona. Texas Tech is maybe one of the worst looking 4-1 teams I've ever seen.
Really?
They're 4-1 right now, and they look bad. They look really bad, but they're 4-1. Um,
But they've also played nobody. Like the hardest game they played is Washington State and Cincinnati, and they lost to Washington State by 21.
beat Cincinnati by 3. So
Yeah, give me Arizona after beating Utah. I mean, granted,
I'm,
now Cam Rising, but they still beat them.
yeah, I'm also going to take Arizona because it's at Arizona. I
And
just
this
I
was
can't believe
also and this was also a team that you thought kept a lot of players even after Jed Fish went to Washington, right?
Yeah, I mean they did keep a lot of players.
So I mean, the
They,
talent is there for a team that finished ranked 11 last year and beat Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl.
yeah. I'm going with Arizona. I don't know. Texas Tech just doesn't look good, even though
Yeah,
but all right. Finally, our game of the week. Why is it the game of the week? Because we said so.
we did. Another
Yes.
big implications for the playoffs.
Yes. SMU versus Louisville. This is SMU's second ACC game. They waxed Florida State last week,
Yeah, they
uh,
did.
coming off their first loss of the year at Notre Dame. This is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle. Fun fact for you.
Is that what it's called?
Rumble in the Jungle?
Really?
Yeah. Ali Boumaye. Ali Boumaye. You know what that is?
Nope.
So yeah, the Rumble in the Jungle, is when he fought I believe George Foreman
Yeah, in Africa, right?
in Africa. Yeah. And the country that they went to, uh Ali learned how to say Ali kill him in that language, and it's Ali Boumaye. And so he like was the whole time he was in that country just chanting like Ali Boumaye. And then basically he turned that into like a home game for Muhammad Ali. The entire country was cheering for him. And so when they're boxing, the entire stadium is chanting Ali Boumaye, Ali Boumaye. It's awesome. It's great.
Okay.
Um so yeah, Louisville's wearing jerseys with gold in them. That's
Oh,
the 50th anniversary of that. I don't know. Louisville, this could be a tough game. Coming off of a loss to Notre Dame, though, their first loss of the year. I think they're going to be a little bit focused in this one. I'm leaning towards Louisville. If if Louisville would have beat Notre Dame and SMU would have beat BYU, this is probably college game day,
this is probably game day. Yeah,
just because they're like, oh, there's not a lot of great games going
not a
on.
lot of games, but yeah.
So, but no, both these teams are coming in with one loss. So it's lost a little bit of its luster. I'm gonna go with Louisville by a little bit.
I I'm gonna go with SMU.
Hmm. It's possible. Kevin Jennings has looked good,
They've looked really good,
but
but instead they're going to the Cal game versus Miami.
seriously?
They're going to Berkeley, Cal versus Miami. They're going to Berkeley.
Okay, I guess. What? All right,
Yeah,
whatever. Okay.
there you
Well,
go.
that's our episode. Hope you uh hope you liked it. Hope you subscribed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for watching this far. If you have, we hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.